So for me, at least with Bitcoin, I think you put in a bottom around mid-year of 2023, maybe in the second half. I think this bear market's going to be a longer bear market than what we're used to, because all the previous bear markets, you always had Fed printing money, right? So it kind of probably accelerated us getting out of that bear market. Here we don't have that, unless they started, obviously. Again, there will be a pivot point where Bitcoin gets to a level where people start to sniff out that if the economy gets so bad, the Fed will have to start lowering rates. And I think that's where you get that next big bull market to start. And so I think, again, mid 2023, late 2023 is probably the key for Bitcoin.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have Gareth Soloway giving us his market analysis and price prediction for Bitcoin, as well as the bull run that's about to start. He'll give his take on the economy and where crypto is headed in the last part of the year. Because of recent market impulse, movement in the stock market was negative. Even large hedge funds are placing larger bets, but many of them also have high levels of leverage. It's been almost a year since we've seen Bitcoin's price at an all-time high, and with next month approaching fast, Soloway is looking for the correction that will take us into the next bull run for Bitcoin. Let's listen to this interview with Gareth Soloway as he gives his investment advice and price prediction for Bitcoin, as well as where the crypto and stock market is headed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
What is your short-term outlook, and as well as maybe long-term going into next year?
Yeah, so short term, I continue to be on the focus of thinking that it is more on the near term bullish side. A couple things make me feel that way. Number one, you have a support line on the Bitcoin chart. If you connect this low, we're still holding this area of support. So we're kind of dancing around this 20,000. And I think one of the key things that I'm noticing is sentiment is really, really bearish on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So again, with sentiment being so bearish, it makes me almost a little bit bullish. The fact that we've been going sideways and sentiment has remained this bearish. So you almost want to see a little bit of a pop to get that sentiment to be more bullish in the near term. So I think, again, if you combine a Fed pivot, or at least the chance of a Fed pivot, it's more of a risk-on in situation. The dollars started to come off the all-time, well, not the all-time highs, but 20-year highs. And those are all recipes for a potential short squeeze in Bitcoin, at least to 22, 24, maybe 25,000. Midterm, I'm still in the camp that it's going to still see 12 to 13,000 at minimum. So I am midterm bearish, but I am short-term bullish here. I think as a swing trader, like if anyone's watching, and again, this is not advice for anyone to do, I'm just speaking from my own perspective. But basically, as long as you don't trade below this trend line, then you would be positive on Bitcoin, right? So this is a very obvious trend line across here, slightly angled up. Right now, that trend line is right around 18,500. So as long as we don't trade below that, I think then you keep a neutral to positive view on Bitcoin with potential upside. You know, again, any sort of upticks maybe through 21,000, you could get a little bit of a short squeeze there with sentiment being so bearish.
Now, do you see the same thing for Ethereum, or is it just Bitcoin at this point?
No, I think with Ethereum, same thing. Both charts have pulled back pretty substantially. Basically, Ethereum's trading in a little bit of a wedge pattern, same kind of upsloping trend line, connecting the lows from June, then into July, and then obviously to September here. And basically, as long as you hold that line, I would think that you head up towards this 1,560, 75 range. And with the potential, same thing, to kind of have a short-lived squeeze outside, maybe as high as 1,800 or so. So again, I think in the near term, sentiment is kind of pushing me more towards bullish. As long as we hold these key trend lines, I think eventually you'll see some buyers come in, especially if the dollar can continue to weaken. And like, you know, if we get a jobs number on Friday, which is weaker than expected, that would be very bullish for Bitcoin. If we start to see the CPI numbers coming down with inflation, very, very bullish. And I do think we're getting close to that. I mean, 3 months ago, we started to see the stock market coming down, maybe even before that, but jobs numbers were still strong, but they should start to catch up to the economic pictures, especially, I mean, you're like me, you pay attention to the financial markets. You know, almost every other day, there's another big company saying, hey, we're going to lay off 10% of our workforce. At some point, those jobs are going to start hitting the economy and not being picked up.
Soloway believes that Bitcoin is going to continue to increase faster than most investors realize. He reasons that if the Fed holds, we will begin to see inflation numbers and commodities go down, which will cause Bitcoin to go up. Soloway points out that so far, all markets, including Bitcoin, have had an expectation that CPI numbers will decrease. But he warns that if the CPI numbers go back up, there will be consequences to the markets and sell-offs will continue to increase.
The thing is, we just have to continue to remember that inflation is at a point and it's not down below 2% yet. So the Fed, if we do slip into a recession, which is what I think is going to happen, there's no way for us to get out of that recession, right? So that means that we're not going to print our way out like we have in the past, and therefore we're going to likely see further downside. So I do think the Fed is going to pivot soon, but I think it's important to understand that a pivot is just a kind of a climbing the mountain to coming down the mountainside, right? So we've had 3 rate hikes of 75 basis points in a row. So a pivot could even be early November, just 50 basis points. And then after that, it's 25. And then we could go to 0 rate hikes. But that still means the interest rate is going to be right around 4% on the Fed funds rate, right? So the idea here is that I think that at some point they will not hike anymore, but I don't see them looking to decrease those rates for at least probably a year until one of 2 things happens. One, it could be that we see the inflation rate get below 2% so that then they feel confident in lowering rates again. Or 2, things get so bad in the global economy, things get so screwed up that even with inflation above 2%, they still are like, oh my goodness, we'll tolerate 4% inflation. We need to print money anyways because things are like a depression. And listen, I think gold at the lows was down 7% for the year versus 25 on the S&P and like a huge amount on Bitcoin. So it had been performing well, but not up to what I expected. But what I loved about gold is that as soon as the dollar pulled back over the last week or so, gold just ripped. You've had the dollar go up something like 18% this year from the start of the year to the highs, and gold only fell 7%. In a normal world where everything's equal, gold should have fallen 18%. So the fact that it only fell 7 tells me that it's likely that big money is accumulating. And I think when you saw the dollar pull back here, the mega jump in gold also signals that. So I continue to be really bullish on gold. I want to show this chart here because this is a big level to watch. But take a look at this long-term trend line. This is going back to the highs from 2022 March when we hit that 2070-ish area. And look at what we're testing here. So you haven't broken out on gold, but you're really close, and it is testing that level. And if you're able to trade through this, then I think you have a very big potential within 6 months to be retesting these highs. So I think I continue to be really bullish on gold. I mean, every angle I look at it makes sense. It's a safer play in a bear market. The dollar at some point I do think starts to get weaker again. So all of those type of things makes me feel good about investing in gold.
Soloway advises that there is more stability in Bitcoin in the short run. He warns that when looking at cryptocurrencies, it's important to consider what the various cryptos were doing 2 years ago. He says to identify which cryptocurrencies were in the top 20 and take note of the ones that have recently appeared or have fallen off. Soloway believes that in the long term, it's essential to hold Bitcoin and Ethereum. He also believes that right now is the time to consider taking 20% or more off the table to reduce loss while holding the rest and watch for a new bull market that you can play a part in. What do you guys think about Gareth Soloway's price prediction for Bitcoin and where the market is headed? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.